here with Bob Seifert of GMT Games, and we are looking at Space Empires. So, what sort of game is Space Empires?
So Space Empires is a board war game for 1 to 4 players, kind of in the vein of Masters of Orion or Sins of a Solar Empire, like those PC games. It's a 4X game, so you explore space, you expand your empire, you exploit resources, and eventually build a big fleet of ships to go crush your opponent. And one of the big things that drives the replayability in this game is the map is randomly set up. So the tiles and stuff that are all over space is going to be different every game. And the stuff that you research in the tech tree and the ships that you build are all hidden from your opponent. So your opponent doesn't know what's coming until you actually collide somewhere in space.
So would you be able to give us kind of a quick rundown of how the game actually works?
Sure. So you start with just a home world, and that's surrounded by space markers that match your color. There's no difference in the colors, they're just kind of like team designations. There are 2 kinds of ships in the game. There are non-combat ships, and there are combat-capable ships. The ships that are combat-capable have attack numbers and an attack rating on them. And the non-combat ships don't have any markings like that. Like, for instance, here is a colony ship, and here's a miner. And their jobs are to set up colonies and then drag in minerals to help make you money in the beginning of the game. That's a shipyard, and that's basically what is going to be producing ships for you as the game goes on. The game is played in 3 turns. Here's the turn tracker right here. You play 3 regular turns where you move, fight, and explore in turn order with your opponent. And then after those are complete, you go to the economic phase where you decide what you're going to research and what you're going to build at your shipyards. And at the end of the economic phase, any colonies that you set up grow and continue to develop, so you make more money as time goes on. So in the early game, you're exploring space with your military ships and your colony ships, setting up new colonies, dragging in minerals and that kind of stuff to help improve your econ. And then once you get your econ engine going, you research technology and build a big fleet of ships and send them out across at your opponent. In general, the markers in your home system are safer to explore. These white markers are deep space. Those are much more dangerous, but it's high risk, high reward. So even though there's a lot of ways to lose all your ships when you explore deep space markers, you can get much bigger minerals, and there's different things out here that can help give you technologies. Combat is played out on this battle board here. Military ships have a letter designation, and that's basically their initiative. So if you had a bunch of scouts, you'd place them on the E here, and then your opponent would place his ships on the opposite side of the board. So if your opponent had a ship that fired at A, they would fire before the scout, and so they could shoot at the scout and potentially blow that scout up. And these markers here for the scouts and all the military ships, they're group markers, so they actually represent a group of ships. And what you do is you put a numerical counter underneath them to represent how many ships are in that group. So if I have 1 scout, that's what that looks like, but now I have 2 scouts in that group. And you can split and merge groups as long as they have the same ship type and technology anytime you want. And normally, like I said, the information is hidden. All your military ships have the same kind of generic back, so that when they're moving across space, your opponent doesn't know what's out there. And in fact, there are these decoy counters that you can build, and they look the same as any other military ship. So something I like to do sometimes is send one fleet one way and then a bunch of decoys the other way, and try and make you have to decide which one you're going to try to defend. The first expansion for the game came out in 2012. That adds things like crew experience, flagships, ground troops, boarding ships, customizable ships. The base game just has basically incrementally bigger ships. In addition to, in the advanced rules, you have mines, fighters, and ships with cloaking devices. And one of the things I like about that is all these rules are modular and can be kind of plugged in at any time. I think of it as like ordering from a sushi menu. You know, it's just what rules do you want to play with today, and what are you comfortable with? So the game scales up in terms of difficulty pretty well.
Okay. Out of curiosity, with a lot of games like this, and I guess with all the customizability, the answers I probably know what it is. But does everybody start with the same stuff?
Yeah. Every team color is actually the same. I mean, they have different artwork and different colors and that kind of thing. But you start symmetrically, and what makes you asymmetric is what you research and what choices you make when you build your empire. So the distribution of counters in your home system is the same for everybody, and you always start with the same stuff. Deep Space, there's a little bit more variability because you're not necessarily using all the counters. In the expansion, we added these Empire Advantage cards, which are like racial attributes for your race. So you could be giants that are really good at researching technology, that kind of thing. Or you could be insectoids and you start the game with more money because you're an ancient race. So that adds some asymmetry to the game as well.
That's really cool. I love asymmetry in these kind of games. So you have a two-player game set up right here. You said these tokens are randomly put out?
Correct. They're the same tokens in every game for your home system, but they're randomly distributed here. So they're shuffled up and you don't know what they're going to be. Some of these are minerals, which you can tow back with a miner to your home world or any colony to help generate some income. And some of these are planets that you can bring a colony ship to and set up a colony there, and eventually that colony will grow and help produce more income for you later in the game. Additionally, if you set up colonies at the edge of your system, or maybe even in Deep Space if you get lucky, you can set up a forward base to kind of stage attacks from against your opponent.
What would you say kind of inspired you guys to do a game like this?
Well, Jim Crone's the designer of the game, and I know a big influence for him, and a reason that drew me to this game is playing those old PC games like Masters of Orion and that kind of thing, where you kind of want to explore and build colonies and research technology and do this big space opera. Like, one thing when I play this is some games really feel like I'm playing Star Wars, or I'm trying to take down the Death Star. Other games feel more like Star Trek, that kind of thing. So you get different stories out of this game, and I don't think that many other games really offer that kind of storytelling that can be done in one sitting. Like in about 2.5, 3 hours, you can easily do a two-player game. Whereas a lot of other games out there, they tend to be big and with a lot of cool moving pieces, but you need a big time sink to get those to the table. So this is sort of a streamlined way of kind of having your cake and eating it too.
Yeah, you actually answered what my next question was going to be. I was going to ask you, what did this one do better, and you got that one right on the head there. So where would people be able to get this game?
So you can order it right now at gmtgames.com, and it's also available at Cool Stuff Inc. We have a new expansion that should be coming out next year, and that's available for pre-order from GMT Games. It should be on sale right now.
Would you be able to tell us anything about that new expansion? So
the new expansion is going to add a 5th player to the game. Right now it can support up to 4 players, and that 5th player is going to be asymmetric compared to everybody else. So whereas these guys started with the same stuff, this new 5th player, which we're calling the Replicators, they basically spread really fast, kind of like a virus across space, and consume planets, generating tons of resources, but they can burn out. So they kind of have this early game like peak that you have to stop them from doing. So that's a new game mode we're adding there. In addition to, while I do like our counter art and that kind of thing, we're adding these new big hex counters for nebulas and asteroids and the terrain out there. So instead of just having a counter that just shows a little picture of asteroids here, it's going to take up the whole hex, and really it'll look a lot better when you're playing the game. So that's another thing we're adding in the expansion.
Okay, so you would actually start with these squares still, but then as they get
off
flipped
and
over,
put the
you
new one
replace
down.
it.
So it's all just trying to pimp the game out, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this sounds fantastic. I'm going to have to give this a try sometime. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks.